We're here tonight with a band called the Atomic Duo with Mark Rubin on guitar,
Howdy.
and Silas Lowe on mandolin.
Howdy.
So how long you guys been together as a band?
It's been about 2 years now. We kind of met down in Austin, Texas. It's a really vibrant scene of acoustic music down there, and we were both guys that got kicked out of other bands, so we found each other. It's true.
Okay. Before we get off into anything else, I want to be sure we get the names of your albums.
Sure, we have one record out right now that folks can find out on iTunes or the CD Baby. It's called Fat Man and Little Boy, the Atomic Duo.
Totally conceptual. It's not a reference.
It's not a reference to anything in particular.
It's just a conceptual. Anyways,
It's not a literal reference to us, unfortunately.
in any way, shape, or form. So continue.
It was actually an homage to the two bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but we decided to kind of trim that name back just to the Atomic Duo. So now that we've named ourselves after the Rosenbergs, so that makes perfect sense to most folks.
Great. And our upcoming record is going to be called Broadsides, and it'll be out sometime in October, and it will feature prominently a wide range of original socialist protest music.
And you can find out more about us by going to www.theatomicduo.com. And at the bottom of that page there, you can put in your email address and you can keep track of us. In fact, you can find out where we're going to be around the country, so you can make sure you're not there at that time, if that's how you're so inclined.
The best Atomic Duo early warning system is to sign up for our email
Yeah,
address.
and we'll let you know where we're at.
Okay. Speaking of around the country, you were telling me you tour pretty extensively.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we've in the last year we've traveled all over across this country, all the way up to Vermont, all the way down to Louisiana, and all the way up from Seattle, all the way down to LA, and across through Denver, and this is our first trip going kind of through the flyover states. You know, and, we've seen a lot of stuff. You know, I traveled this country pretty regularly for about almost 15 years with a bluegrass band called Bad Livers, and the country that I see now is a much different place. It's a much more changed place. And so it's kind of affected us, and it's informed us, and it gives us stuff to think about when we're making these long drives from gig to gig.
In the span of 5 days, we've seen Joplin, Missouri, and the devastation that happened there. I'm just kind of amazed at the resilience of the folks who are living there. And then we were just at the capital of Wisconsin today in Madison, watching them pass some bills that I think are going to be real hurtful to the working folks of that state. But got to see American democracy in action, and got to see some really amazingly empowered Americans kind of voicing their concerns in a peaceful and calm and organized way.
That was awe-inspiring.
I have to say that, you know, we get to travel quite a bit and get to see all the good and all the bad of this country.
Yeah, there's a lot to see of both.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So tell me, guys, what inspires you to write the songs you write?
Well, I think about it like we didn't really kind of set out to be kind of like sing songs of social protest or commentary. I mean, that's not how we kind of started out. We started out just as a string band with our love of string band music, and not only that, but like Texas string band music. We're really, you know, our first record kind of represents that. But I remember we were driving to a gig out towards Lafayette, Louisiana, and I'd heard on the radio that this fella got blown up in a town called Texas City. There was some cost-cutting procedure, and there wasn't a safety. You know, there was some safety thing had been glossed over for, you know, because they were trying to save it up. And a fella got himself blowed up there, and I thought, Texas City, people get blowed up in Texas City quite a bit. I mean, the whole town was wiped off the face of the map, you know, years ago, thanks to an industrial accident, which was brought to us by our friends at, Monsanto. And then in 2005, our lovely friends at British Petroleum were responsible for a disaster there that killed several people. And like, it just seems, we were singing mining songs like Dream of the Miner's Child, and all these songs about mining accidents we heard on the radio. We heard about industrial accidents, and we're thinking, they wrote writing songs 100 years ago, and like they're valid now. You know, it's depressing. And so rather than just go sing those same old songs again, we kind of wanted to address the exact same issues that we see today, but more from a more modern perspective. And I think that's kind of how
I spent 8 years trying to write love songs, and I just realized I don't have a sentimental bone in my body. I couldn't do it. But I was raised by ultra left-wing, Holocaust surviving French Jews, and a mother who was, not college educated, but has spent her whole life working with people with disabilities. And I was raised up around the San Francisco Mime Troupe, which is one of the most important and earliest American political theater troupes based out of San Francisco. And so I've been around this stuff my whole life. And the major I studied in college was sort of a liberal thought experiment on social construction and how you want society to be humanizing to people. And all of a sudden, Mark was like, you should write a song about this disaster that happened. And then the floodgates kind of opened up, and I realized, well, no, I got a lot to say. It just doesn't happen to be about how my girlfriend broke up with me or whatnot. I think people think about country music and American music as real conservative because that's the narrative that's been constructed. So you've got, contemporary country music and a lot of contemporary bluegrass even that's Christian-oriented and super libertarian, individualistic. Wow, what they're really singing about is working-class poor people, and the narrative that you can really read into early American music that was recorded from the 40s and 50s and 60s is, kind of people just barely getting by, existing within a system that dehumanized them on a regular basis and didn't treat them well, and then they're making this amazing art that says, no, I'm a person, like I'm a human being and I deserve to be respected and treated with kindness and all the decency that every human deserves. And so when we started writing these songs, we started going like, no, we are working 100% within the American tradition because we're poor people who deserve to be respected. It just so happens that we're not digging coal mines or building walls or
working on a farm or picking cotton.
We're playing music.
We drive around and play music, so like it's almost as if those people don't really seem to have a voice anymore, and we lived awesome lives based on their labor. I mean, like, we're really comfortable based on the labor. We live a comfortable lifestyle based on the hardworking labor of hardworking folks, and so in some respects, we owe it to them to kind of help them get their voice, help them find their voice, so that they can reclaim some of their humanity. That's all within a system that just more and more every day seems to devalue them as human beings and sees them more as objects to make money off of.
Look, we all know something's wrong, whether you're right or left or center or libertarian or socialist or nihilist or whatever. Everybody knows something's wrong, and I think we just want to try and provide some honest observations, some heartfelt, genuine observations. It doesn't say you're wrong or stupid or anything like that. Just it says this is wrong. Like, we're not getting treated like human beings here, and that's, I think, what we're both trying to accomplish in our songwriting. And we've been inspired by the likes of Stanley Brothers and Floyd Tillman and people from all over the country. Gil Scott-Heron, who just passed away, may he rest in peace. And Hazel Dickens, who just passed away.
In a lot of respects, I think we're trying to reclaim some of the populist element that kind of made this music in the first place, which is a narrative that we think is kind of
Well, before we wrap up, is there any final thoughts you've got for our viewers?
Well, I'll give the floor to my friend Silas here. This is something we like to say on stage pretty much everywhere we go.
We're socialists. I think it's a shame that in this country that's become a dirty word, but we think that capitalism...
Anybody who's listening, there's a birthday party going on next door. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We just think that this emphasis on capitalism, which really privileges production and the accumulation of wealth, and doesn't really value things that make us human, like culture and art, is not doing a lot of good for a lot of folks. And that if people had access to resources like food and healthcare and housing and childcare, that they'd be able to spend more time working on things that make us human, like art, whatever that may be it weaving or crocheting or music or baseball or anything that makes us people that that brings people joy. And I think the world would be a better place if people could spend more time humanizing themselves instead of slaving away to make somebody else a bunch of money. So I guess that's where we're at. That all being said, we're not as serious as we come
Yeah,
off.
we come off like it, but like the key is that, you know, you have to have fun at everything you're doing. And if you just are preaching to people and knocking them over the head, you're not gonna really speak to them. So you gotta kind of make them laugh, and you gotta show the absurdity of the situation and do so kind of in a way that draws people in rather than pushes people away.
So as a final note, do we have time for a final note?
Absolutely.
What do you call an operetta about a fatty fruit? I wrote this joke. What do you call an
I
operetta
don't know,
about a fatty fruit?
I don't
What do
know.
you call an operetta about a fatty fruit?
The Ave Mikado. Okay, so that's funny because here's right. The Mikado is an operetta, right? Which is a short and comical opera. And an avocado is a fatty fruit. And if you smush the two words together, you get Ave Mikado. We are the Atomic Duo. Thank you.
TheAtomicDuo.com. Come and say howdy. We'd love to meet you and love to come to town and play some music for you.
Okay. Guys, thanks so much for being on Insider Sessions.
Thank you, sir.
Our pleasure.